House lawmakers are calling on the cryptocurrency CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried, to testify on the collapse of FTX, if we could get him here.
Yeah, the crypto company. The call for accountability comes as Democrats hold on to millions of dollars in campaign contributions from that guy in the picture.
Yeah, he's down in the Bahamas. He is talking to reporters. Kevin Cork is live in Washington with all the details for us. Kevin?
Morning, guys. The House Financial Services Committee is set to hold a hearing on the FTX collapse, even as the committee chair, Maxine Waters, continues to dodge questions about whether lawmakers should give back their donations.
I think some lawmakers that got donations from FTX's founder should give that money back.
Well, I don't want to get into that. As a matter of fact, both sides, Democrats and Republicans, have received donations.
By every measure, regulators and others are beginning to follow the money. FTX doled out major cash to Democrats for the midterms, including $27 million to Protect Our Future PAC, $6 million to the House Majority PAC, that's aligned with Nancy Pelosi, and $2 million to the GMI PAC. Now, Bankman-Fried faces possible extradition to the U.S., and that news comes amid revelations that his father drafted legislation for Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. And now SBF, as he's known, is tweeting his way through the financial calamity, adding yesterday 18 more tweets to a meandering thread in which he apologized for his failings, adding, "We got overconfident and careless." This, as fresh reporting suggests, that he may be blaming his former girlfriend, Caroline Ellison, for FTX's problems. She's the 28-year-old wunderkind who ran the crypto firm Alameda Research, which you probably have heard about by now. And here's where things get really interesting. Bankman-Fried is alleged in some reporting to have secretly transferred $10 billion of customer funds from FTX over to Alameda, money that was ultimately used to handle the firm's risky trades. Now, he disagrees with that characterization of the funds, but if that is true, that will certainly garner the attention of regulators, guys.
Yeah, so Kevin, let me ask you, so they are also suing some of the celebrity spokespeople from FTX, right? Isn't it David Boies suing them? Tom Brady, Giselle?
Class action lawsuit.
Class action?
Shaq,
I mean, I wonder if that's got standing.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You know how this goes. If you're an attorney and you're trying to get any clawback, and even if it's far-fetched, you're going to try to name as many possible defendants as you can. Will this go very far?
Right.
Probably not, but this will certainly get the attention of regulators. It'll get the attention of lawmakers, and ultimately, maybe, just maybe, they'll be able to get some clawback, although I think the chances of getting that from these celebrity spokespersons, Larry David and others, is probably close to zero.
Right, because they could simply say we had no idea what their business practices were. We were just talking about it. Some of the
means I have no integrity. I'll sign up for anything anyone gives me.
Some of the celebrity endorsers: Tom Brady, Giselle, Larry David, David Ortiz, Steph Curry, and Shaq.
What about Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful from the Shark Tank?
Yeah.
How could he get caught up in this?
And to our other Kevin, how much did he give to the Republican Party? It's almost $40 million to the Democrats and their PACs. How much to the Republicans?
You know,
that's a great question, because I noticed that Maxine Waters said, hey, he gave to both parties. The truth is, I think anybody who's honest about this understands where the lion's share of the money was going, obviously, to Democrat causes. Now, that said, understand there's one thing about Washington, no matter what people tell you, there's almost never a circumstance where only one party is involved. And we'll probably learn more about where the dollars ultimately went in the days ahead.
Indeed. All right, Kevin, thank you very much.
But think about Zuckerberg and how, he could say, thanks, Kevin. He could say, hey, I gave to both parties a fraction of what he gave Republicans, what he gave Democrats. And let's see if how this all breaks down.
Well, I think it was the Daily Beast or the New York Post asked some of the people who had gotten money on both sides. One Republican, fellow by the name of Kevin Hearn from Oklahoma. He's in Congress. He's going to donate the money he got to a charity. Some of the Republicans in the Senate who did not respond what they're going to do with the money, if they're going to give it back. Murkowski up in the great state of Arizona, Alaska. You've got Hoeven in North Dakota, Boozman in Arkansas, Susan Collins in Maine, Richard Burr in North Carolina, and Bill Cassidy in Louisiana. Apparently, they all got money from him as well.
And they're not, and I understand and
They have not responded what they're going to do with the money, if they're going to give it back.
So Charles Gasparino has been pursuing this story for a while, and he's been over it. He had the 5-alarm fire saying there's something wrong here. Here he was on last night talking about it.
I've been doing a lot of reporting on this. I actually know who this guy is for a change. You know, he was always in the background. I was never quite, he was never quite came on my radar screen until he started buying companies, distressed crypto companies, over the last 3 or 4 months, and then tried to start this exchange that, like a SEC approved exchange where he had a meeting with Gary Gensler. Then he started coming up, and I started asking myself, and this is a question that I think everybody has to ask themselves, why didn't he raise any eyebrows at the SEC when he was buying all this stuff when everybody was losing money in crypto? What was the secret sauce that allowed him to make so much money when the whole crypto universe is getting toasted?
Right. And to Charlie's point, so much money has gone into the crypto world over the last couple of years, and it is so lightly regulated. You know, there's been some suggestion that what he was doing was he was trying to curry favor with the people who would eventually write the regulations. But here they are, all those people who put all that money in it. A lot of people actually owe taxes because they made money. They realized capital gains on it, but now the money is gone. And they're going to have to pay taxes on money that is gone.
And it's just unbelievable to me.
But they weren't able to pull their money out. So how do you pay? You
because
don't have to pay taxes on
they took capital gains, but then ultimately the money is gone.
Well, there's average everyday people who got screwed in this, and I don't think it sunk into him. Ansel, you brought up that he was DMing with the Vox reporter, and he said, I can't believe you're returning my call. And he's sitting there with his flip-flops on, hanging out with his bad shorts, saying, I don't think it sunk in that he's broke and he destroyed so many lives.
So the Vox reporter said he had talked to him and interviewed him in the past, and so he just writes him on Instagram, he DMs him, and he wrote back. He said for an hour they were exchanging DMs. You can go online and read all of their DMs. But he said he's still trying to raise funding needed to pay back all of the depositors.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
He's looking for $8 billion.
Who's going to give him $8 billion?
Yeah, exactly. Who's going to give him money? All right. I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.